better than ever. And I know right now that I'm going somewhere and I need some cheddar. Oh, baby, better not.
Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Andre Luck here with my next episode of the Sports Sales Show, where I'm going to talk through the next stage in the series of AI use cases to drive revenue. And this one's going to be around onboarding and rep skill development. And so for onboarding, the goal with AI is to speed up the onboarding process. We've always kind of defaulted to it's going to take 2 to 3 months before a rep starts producing, but that's not acceptable anymore. Expectations are higher. We need people to sell and generate revenue quicker, and AI is a great way to help do that. So we'll talk through how with AI you can get reps up to speed quicker, ditch the generic old school playbooks, everything like that. And I'll talk through my experience and if I were to go back, what I would do different now with AI. So it's been interesting as I work with teams, I'll see some of their playbooks and I'll see inserts in there from things I learned. I started in 2007, so we're coming up almost 20 years, and the same stuff in those playbooks, which there's probably some core fundamentals, but it definitely should have evolved by now. So, for me, when I was like an inside sales manager, even as a director, I was onboarding new hires, I would take weeks to kind of lock myself and build out this, playbook. And I was humbled as AI came about, and I was like, oh, what it took me 2 weeks to build, which was really just kind of recycled or even just like a refresher on what was already there. AI could build a full playbook over a 2, 3 month stretch in 30 minutes, maybe, me going back and forth, and give me a better version than what I did. So it really opened my eyes that as a new inside sales manager, entry level manager, like what's the value that you're bringing? And how do you differentiate or how do you use this to help you even further your career? So when I talk to new managers, I talk to them a lot about that and how they could use this as a tool and an asset to really differentiate from the competition, people who are still recycling the same playbooks where the game's changed. We talk a lot about in our sessions that the buyer expectations are different. Reps are different than the way we came up, and for good or for worse, like they're just different generation that's coming up. How are we evolving to that? If we're still teaching what we learned 15, 20 years ago, like they're going to lose engagement. Like attention spans are shorter. So we got to make it more engaging, make it more interactive, and just change it up so that it evolves and it's customized to your market, your team, not, hey, here's the playbook that I used at this team and I'm going to give it to someone else and they're going to use the same one. And it just kind of trickles down the coaching tree and everything like that without real updates and substance and everything like that. So I would spend weeks, and it would be like generic research. I'd do some Google searches. I'd maybe find like a YouTube video that I thought was relevant to what we were talking about. It was pretty good. Like I did a good job onboarding good people and were able to come in, understand the role, have success. I could double the time in which I'm getting them to sell now if I had a lot of these tools, and I'll talk through what that looks like now so we don't have to default to, all right, in 3 to 4 months, we'll see what we have with them. Again, we don't have that time to waste. Or let's say we did get the bandwidth, like just to have people that are producing at 1 month and then they're just growing from there, just think of the impact that's going to have on your overall business. So not having to be the one that's always doing all the role plays for 2 weeks and taking me off the floor and away from the current team that I have to onboard new hires, supplementing, complementing different tools through AI so that reps can kind of self-serve and do some education learning on their own. My content's way more concise or way more precise, way more at a higher level so that they get more out of it, and just different ways I can brainstorm and engage through that process. So that was my process when I was, entry level leader, 12, 13 years ago, whatever that time was. And now today, what I would do is I probably would take my original playbook that I have and say, hey, here's the playbook that I'm working with, and give it as much context as possible. I'm bringing in 3 new hires. Here's their backgrounds. Here's where we're at as an organization. Here's where we're looking to go to and the impact that I think they could make. And just start there and just go back and forth over, all right, what do we need to change? What's relevant? What's not? What can we update? And within probably an hour going back and forth and just like downloading all the thoughts I have in my head of what I think this next session will be most impactful, because you still need to have that context. You still need to have the expertise and not just give it all to AI. like me being in sales as a leader for 10, 12 years, I could say, hey, here's what I'm looking for. But maybe I can't, build that out myself, or it would take me forever to build it out at the level it is. So I just kind of just run back the same playbook. Now I could go back and make it specific. And maybe there's similar exercises, but we take this spin on it because it's the off season versus in season. Or we won the World Series one year versus we're the worst team in baseball the next year. And how does the training differ? And how does someone coming new into the organization adjust? So I'm not teaching everyone the exact same thing. It's something for tailored to the person. And even call out, like if I'm talking through their backgrounds, if they had sales experience or not, maybe I adjust a little bit, like how I do the training. All just spitballing here, but those are a lot of ways I could take it and make it more customized and tailored to the group, to the team, to where we are in our business versus here's our playbook that we run back. There are some things, again, that are consistent, that's standard, like, hey, everyone that comes to our program needs to know these 5 things. Make sure you have that stuff. But after that, once you're like actually teaching them the job and what they'll be doing, it's different based on the season, the time of the year, who you have, where you're at in your business, your growth stage. Maybe the executives have different expectations than they did a year ago when you did this training. So just giving it as much context as possible is going to be huge for just a starting point. So then you can start to map out, like, what do success metrics look like? How do I determine if this person is on track to where I need them to be in 2 weeks, in 4 weeks, in 6 weeks, in 8 weeks? Like a lot of times we would just say, let's give them some time. They're new. But now you could put like actual, tangible, measurable metrics in there and see and lay it out to them up front. And this will kind of play into what we talk about when we get into like the use cases for leaders. But if I know what I'm working towards with 3 months with that person, I'm even building that into my interview process and asking questions to find the right person that can do what I need them to do 3, 6 months from now based on my interview. So it just changes so many different dynamics when I have a clear understanding of what it is we're looking to do and the measurables that I need them to hit. It talked about role playing. So now they could role play synchronously. A lot of times we have to do kind of generic role plays. It's me in the room, and there's definitely a space for that. But I had to lead all of the role plays, and sometimes I would bring in like a senior account executive or something like that that is getting some leadership experience, and that's taking them off the phone. So now we're even more unproductive across the floor as we help onboard these new reps. And so they can get some practice asynchronously with AI through the voice mode, or even kind of chatting back and forth through different scenarios. So then when they do get on the phones or they do meet with one of us face to face, they've already had a chance to work out the kinks. So they don't have to do a lot of that there in person, and they could be more productive, and they can kind of learn at their own pace and everything like that. They don't feel embarrassed, and that's probably not the only reason to do that, but that definitely helps people gain their confidence so that when they do get on the phones, they've had so many more reps that are a little more realistic than the kind of fake scenarios we put together. People kind of joke and laugh, and then you got someone who's like taking it too far, and you got to rein them in. Like you can be very specific with AI, like, hey, here's the situation, here's the scenario, here's what we're working on, and that person can go back and forth with it. They could do quizzes. You could upload your playbook, your training manual, and build daily quizzes about the content that we covered. Or for them to graduate from training, they have to pass this quiz that you built based on the playbook. So now not only are they sitting and listening to you go through it all through different slides and a week or two of training, now they have to go actually apply it. And you don't have to take forever to build out this quiz. In 10 seconds, you could have a quiz based on all the content material. You just tweak it again. This is going to get you 80, 90% of the way there. And then you take that extra hour to make it perfect and take it to that next level. And that's where AI is really huge for this onboarding, for skill development, everything like that. And it just allows you to just switch up your training, make it a little more engaging, help them retain the information more because now they're really reinforcing it like in real time, like now, versus having to take time to build out these quizzes and things like that later. Like they're getting it all there. And I just imagine that this rep now is way more prepared to step into a scenario and produce and understand the business versus having to wait 2 to 3 months to see what we have with someone. You can know very early what you have and move quickly if you need to, or give them the resources so that they can develop and take it to the next level. The other thing I tell reps now is like there is no excuse for you to not develop and grow in your career. Um, a lot of times, you can kind of say, oh, I didn't get the development, or my leadership doesn't really pour into me. And even then, I think that was an excuse before, and there was really no exception for that, but even more so now. I talked through different use cases and scenarios like a manager could put together, but you could do this yourself as a rep. If you know that there's something you're struggling with, and we know better than anyone we're not struggling, what we're struggling with. So, we can be honest with and say, hey, I'm really struggling keeping the momentum going after the first meeting. Like a lot of times I don't hear back, or my prospects ghost me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like, I'm just not able to close sales, or I'm behind on this, or most of my teammates are achieving this, and here's where I'm at. And so you can work with AI to build out a correction plan. And it could give you kind of a V1, a rough draft of like, hey, here's a plan over the next 6 to 8 weeks on what you can do and how we'll measure your progress and success. Now you got a game plan to work with. And you could take this plan to your boss versus sitting in that one-on-one with your boss of like, I don't know, I'm making all the calls, I'm working really hard. I get, people just don't want to buy. I don't know how many times I heard that. Um, as a leader, I would love if someone came to me with a plan of like, hey, here's what I'm struggling with, and here's how I'm gonna get back on track. And that now I could take that plan and really build on that versus having to start from scratch and build a plan, get them to buy in or get them to think that it's their idea, and so that we get that engagement, that commitment, and now we're starting in a much better space. So that's big. If there's a certain part of the sales process you're struggling with, perfect opportunity to work on that. Show up more prepared to your one-on-ones. So coming with an agenda of like, hey, here are the 3 things I want to cover in a meeting. Send that to your boss in advance. They can come prepared. It's a much more productive conversation versus, hey, what's going on? And like you kind of do this small talk for 5-10 minutes, and then you finally get somewhere with it. Like you can be very precise and everything like that. One part of our training workshops, we talk about building your ideal day and time blocking and time management, having this operating rhythm of when things happen and what you're doing on certain times to make sure that you're hitting all parts of the sales process and making sure that things don't go miss. AI could build that out for you. Here's my goal over the next 3 months. Here are the things that are going to be most important to make sure I do that. Here are some blockers in my day right now. Here's what I'm struggling with. And it can give you, hey, here's what your ideal day should look like. From 8 to 9, you need to do this. From 10 to noon, you need to do this. And it'll literally map that out for you. Now you have your ideal day. Working backwards from your goal. Let's say you have a $500,000 goal. That can be intimidating to look at and just like, oh man, like I have to go get $500,000. Well, work backwards. Like put your data, put your numbers into AI and say, hey, here's my average conversion rate. Here's my average sale, like the sale amount. So when I make a sale, it's usually for this amount, B2B versus B2C. Help me build out a plan and measurements and milestones. Your manager should give this to you, but a lot of people don't have good data or don't even know where to start, or they just kind of run back the same generic plan for everyone else. But if I'm closing at a higher rate for higher dollar sales, I don't have to make as many sales as the person who's selling a bunch of transactional deals. But we just kind of clump everyone together as managers because we don't know any better. Now you could take ownership of your own number and be like, hey, actually, I looked at my data and I know you said I need to do this. I'm going to still do the activity metrics that you asked and everything like that. But actually, I sell at a higher dollar rate, or the number you gave me, I'm not going to get there based on my average close rate. So we need to work on how I close higher dollar deals. But for now, I need to do more activity than what you're giving me. Like no rep ever says that. So that'd be great to see as a manager of like someone owning their numbers of here's how many sales I need to make. Here's how many meetings I need to go on to do that. Here's how many activities I need to do that. Here's the type of leads I need to call, and here's what my ideal day looks like. You could do all that now, so there's no excuse for that. I think the last 2 areas you could look at is finding patterns in your sales process. So what leads do you sell well? Which leads do you not sell well? So putting all your data in there. And the other one is just having difficult conversations. If you have a struggling conversation, a CRM dispute with one of your peers, that's one that like that and inbound sales are the things that I've seen like crush sales cultures and just like the vibe across the sales team more than anything else. So you have to have a difficult conversation about a potential CRM dispute, or you have to have a difficult conversation up with your boss or someone like that, or even not even difficult, just like, hey, I want to talk about how I get to the next level of my career. You can kind of brainstorm a lot of that and get thoughts on how to approach that conversation so that it's more productive, so you're not doing it all on the fly and just raw. I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't want AI to like take my creativity. I get that, but this helps you just like you would brainstorm with an advisor or supervisor you really respect. So just give it as much context as possible. And you may read that and be like, hey, that's not actually the route I'd want to go, but it at least gives you some thought. So you go in that conversation with some perspective versus just going in completely cold and raw. So I've showed Journey over the past couple sessions. I'm going to show some assistance and journey that could help from an onboarding and skill development. So I'm going to share my screen here real quick. But the ones that I think make the most sense for what we're talking about today are around role playing, and then also around just coaching and development. So again, this is Journey, different assistants that you can work on and through your different workflows. So for today, sales call role play. And so I did this earlier, and I said it was a discovery call with the local bank at an intermediate level, and it's cold. And man, it kicked my butt. I was like, oh, I got some work to do on this. But so let's say I'll just show you a couple real quick. So let's say we're going to do a discovery call. A local bank here is, oh, let's say beginner. We're talking about onboarding, cold. All right, so got it. Taylor's beginning level discovery. What's the buyer, job title, company name you want to play with? So let's do market president, South State Bank. It's a bank here in Miami, in Coral Gables. Selling premium tickets for a local sports team. All right, so you see it's doing his thinking here and setting up the role play scenario for you that you can go back with. All right, so actually even gave me a name. Wasn't expecting that. So James Rivera, market president. He's productive. His time has been looking for premium, hasn't been looking for premium tickets. He's skeptical. This is anything more than entertainment spend. Who cares about business outcomes and will shut down anything vague fast. All right, so before we step in, so it gives you you set up the scenario and you can go back and forth. There's like a voice feature on this, or you could just kind of go back and forth and just chat with it. So that's one use case for this around role playing. And even, if I wanted to pretend to be the market president for South State Bank, I'm kind of making up generic stuff from our reps as they're going through this, and they get practice going back and forth, but they're not getting in-depth practice like this. So this is another key tool for Journey, and it'll have the context of what you sell and who you sell to, and can make it even more realistic. So that's one. The other one is sales leader coach. So, hey there, I'm your sales coach. Whether you're stuck on a deal, need help prepping for a tough conversation, or just want to talk through your pipeline strategy, I'm here to help. So let's say I'm struggling to book meetings with CEOs. And so you can start that as like the scenario, the situation that you're starting out with. And all right, so let's diagnose it quickly. Then I'll give you a tighter approach, quick diagnostic. So you answer these questions: why CEOs don't take meetings and how to fix it, the CEO meeting playbook, don't lead with product. So it's giving you a lot of really good stuff here that why I like Journey for this, because you could do this in like Chat GPT or Google Gemini or Copilot. It has the context of B2B sales, and you'll even customize this even more towards your team, your sales team, everything like that. You're not getting this out of a first response from Chat GPT. So that's why, here, this is great. So those are two use cases. I'll stop sharing here, from skill development, onboarding, just to help you show up more prepared and be a better sales professional with the use of AI. And if I didn't have AI, I could continue to get better and grow. And like where I got better and a lot of my peers got better in the industry is just repetition. So now, if we had these tools, we could take the knowledge that we have and apply this even better. So I think this isn't just for new reps, this is for veteran reps too. Like I'm learning a lot just by going through this. I've been in the industry almost 20 years, so tons of opportunity to grow and humble yourself to kind of get back to the basics and maybe recorrect areas that we could have got better at as reps now that we're leaders. So those are different use cases as we walk through journey. So every week I want to talk about something that stood out to me. This one I think is an opportunity. I'm not going to say is necessarily negative, but I work with a lot of teams, and the expectation is, all right, we need you to go out and call businesses. We need you to go out and, sell more premium products, but the reps aren't necessarily given the resources to do it. So this could be as simple as, not even journey, but just like the tools to use AI correctly. It could be direct contact information, so they don't have to call a general line or email info@ XYZ company. Like, you're never going to get through to that. Like this scenario told me to get to James Rivera, the market president. I don't have his direct contact information, so now I'm having to call in. Hey, can I speak with James? And the gatekeeper's job, there's a reason they're called the gatekeeper, is to shut you down. So I just think we could do a better job as leaders of giving the tools if we're going to challenge reps to get better and achieve more goals. And I think a lot of it in sports, like, we don't even know like what all the tools are. So doing the research on our own and making sure that we're equipping them to have the success that they need to have. Shout out. First, there's two I have today. First, I want to shout out my wife, Brittany. She pushed me and some of her cousins to run a half marathon this morning. So still feeling it a little bit. So still going pretty strong. We got little endorphins, little runner's high today, but I'm sure I'll be feeling it tomorrow. But no, we ran a half marathon with some of her cousins in honor of her Uncle Eric that passed a couple of months ago, because he always pushed us to do half marathons and these different activities as a family. So that was a lot of fun. She beat me. But it was funny. Our daughters were like, I think you're going to win. I was like, yeah, I'm just trying to finish. And so we did. A couple of her cousins did it. Some others did like the 5K, but I want to give her a shout out. The other one, a former colleague of mine, Kim Ing. So she used to be first female, make sure I get this right, female general manager of a professional sports team. At the Marlins, she was our general manager on the baseball side. She's been the commissioner of the AUSL, so Athletes Unlimited Softball League, and they start their season here this summer. They now went from a touring model where they've played at different venues. Now they have 6 designated home teams, and it continues to grow and evolve. And I saw a really cool interview recently of just how she's growing the league. So to watch her pivot into that, one of the coolest people I got the chance to work with and got to know, and can say that I have their cell phone, my cell number and my cell phone is really cool. But watching her, I have girls that play baseball. Eventually, will be playing softball, and just to see that growth is inspiring. So saw that this week and wanted to give her a shout out, because she's doing great things. So in closing, reps should, one, be able to produce more, and there's no excuse to be better at their jobs with the tools that they have, but also close deals more quickly. It shouldn't take 3 to 4 months to start seeing a success. If used appropriately, we should see in 30, 60 days people performing at the level that people who've been there in that role for a while have been, if we leverage this appropriately. And again, this will kind of morph into next week's topic, where I'll talk about leader use cases for AI that are revenue generating. And a big part of the first one we'll talk through is around onboarding and building out a 30, 60, 90-day plan and what that looks like with real metrics. So some crossover, but we'll talk about some additional topics as well with that session. But yeah, like with every video, if you like this, hit like, share this with someone in your network if you think they could take some value out of this, and then obviously subscribe. As I get new episodes, you'll get updated as those come out, and you can tune in and check those out as we continue to go through this series and talk about other topics related to sports sales and how we leverage AI to do that. So a lot of the content this year is going to be around AI use cases to drive revenue for sports sales reps. So like I tell my daughters every morning when I drop them off for school, go be awesome today. And I'll be back next week with another video. Thanks.
That's nothing. I'ma be doing this and I'm gonna be head hunting. Oh, baby, don't know. Oh, baby, don't go. Oh, baby, don't know. Oh, baby, don't go.